everyone. I have learned from experience to give it a couple of seconds before actually doing the greeting because when YouTube uploads this stuff, it doesn't always go through straight away. Anyways, this is the Sky Priestess. If you are listening to this, you almost certainly already know that. And today I had more of a deep feeling to speak to the community. Not entirely sure what about, but the way this usually goes is I show up and things happen in a good way. So, having said that, let's get into things. And as usual, I'm just giving the community a minute or two to show up just because in my country or the country that I'm residing in right now, the internet is pretty shite. It does not help that technology does not always agree with what I say. So the combination is one that requires a little bit of patience. Okay, I see people. Very good. Hello, Sabina. Hello, Neba. Hello, Marinette. Nice to see all of you. Hello, VB. Good to see you too. So let's just give a minute for people to show up. Hello, Dino. Nice to see you as well. I know that this has been a very intense and challenging time, as if that has not been the norm since 2012, but it has been, especially this month with Therios doing everything that it's doing, and you can look at my previous article to look at that. But the thing about me is I tend to, because I'm always doing the work, this is my vocation. It's not something that I switch off and forget about, even when I'm doing something like leading my pirate alliance. They're all getting facilitated whether or not they know it, but they all kind of have a certain awareness of this. But because I'm always at it, by the time a really really tough alignment comes up, as we have right now, I'm usually already prepared. But that also comes from having a Virgo moon and taking stuff seriously and preparing ahead of time. Now, if I could do that in my other areas of life, I'd be set. But when it comes to spiritual matters, when it actually comes, high time to look at and confront very difficult energies, I'm usually ready and in place. Now, right now, we are seeing a very powerful alignment between Mars, the great attractor, Nessus, and Therios. And I don't want to go on too much into that, but this is really the time where you need to be looking at asking yourself at the most fundamental and powerful spiritual level that you can. And that often means the most honest and loving spiritual level that you can. A level is not even the right word, but it is what it is. Um, this is a time where you really need to be asking yourself, what am I doing that is not helping me, that is not healing me, that is draining me or leaving me open to vulnerability? So, as you know, my own journey has been ridiculously difficult. I have never even read about this, okay? There's so much weird shit that has happened. I've not even read about it. So we recently got into finding some answers for me at the very least. And it seems to also be working for the rest of my family. And what we found is in line with everything that I've been saying. It is all about letting go of what you no longer need and letting go of old contracts and old vows and all of the old stuff that needs to go. But unlike all of the spiritual gaslighting that we had been subjected to for so many years, we had not actually done anything wrong. There was no great sin that we needed to atone for. There was no great mission that we signed up for, and therefore we have to go through a heroic struggle. It was a case of a very deep and a very powerful requirement to align ourselves at a level that probably 0.001% of facilitators can even look at, let alone facilitate at. And it came down to constantly asking those key questions. What am I? What do I actually feel? What do I need to acknowledge? What do I need to do? I mean, lots of people assume spirituality and psychic work and all these kinds of stuff is stuff that you need to go out there to find answers for. But it is always an internal process. Always. No matter how big or scary or uncertain or chaotic, whatever it is you may be facing, there has to be some part of you, for reasons that may have even been good or noble reasons in a previous time, there's always got to be some part of you that is accessing it in a way that is less than ideal in the present. And that was what we are finding on our journey, and it's not at all what knee jerk reactions we got from others. So, that's 5 years of going through this, and finally, vindication. Let's just put it that way. A lot of healing is in progress, and I do thank the fact that I was granted the ability to see these alignments in advance and to, again, take them seriously. But I didn't call you, or rather, want to speak to all of you today to talk about myself. Um, it is more about why we actually need to look at the shadow. Now, throughout my work, I've always been projected on, often by people who have breathtaking degrees of denial. You're too dark, you're too negative, you're too this, you're too that. And for me, my experience has always been the opposite. And given the levels of gaslighting I've experienced as a seeker and as a facilitator, what I actually found is sticking to my guns and constantly being in that state of asking, observing, looking, and being willing to peel back all of the uncomfortable stuff actually led me to a state of even deeper purity. You could almost call it a crystallization of spirit. But that didn't come by, suddenly changing the script, posting affirmations on the wall. Yes, I know that works for people, but when you deal with the kind of shit I have to deal with, you have to go a lot deeper than that. And it goes a lot further than just wanting to greet every day with sunflowers and roses and whatnot. It actually goes to the heart of you, the core of you. And when you go to that space within yourself, you will find that in the darkest places, so called places of most shadow, that is often where your actual truth and spirit and purity is. And that's something which is so scary for so many energies on this planet, that they work through people who have not done that work for themselves to make you feel bad, to make you feel like you're tainted, or make you feel like you're unworthy, or make you feel like something is wrong with you because you keep looking at what makes them uncomfortable. And that's what I have found. That's one of the reasons why my work is what it is. There are very, very few times in sessions where I will literally say, you did this bullshit. You need to fix this now. Because more often than not, it's usually people who, like me, have been terribly gaslit and have already internalized all of this garbage surrounding their spiritual purity, spiritual worthiness, whatnot, whatnot. I remember whilst we were in the midst of it, and things were really, really bad, we looked for answers. And one particular gentleman, he told me that my crown chakra was this small, and I needed to expand it and focus on my spiritual abilities. And I'm sitting there going, okay, thank you. And actually, I had to do a lot of clearing after that reading. And my teacher took one look at me and went, really? But we actually found that a lot of people, even so-called teachers, are, because they themselves have not gone to those places of shadow within, they are often used as vessels to gaslight people, especially people who are bearers of new frequencies, new energies, and who shake up old systems. And if you are following me, chances are this will apply to you. Hopefully in less extreme ways, because I would not wish my life upon anybody. Absolutely not. I see miracles almost on a daily basis, but I know the work that has gone into it. And it's just this gaslighting that I find is truly, truly saddening. What I also see increasingly so, as there are so many weird and wonderful people on their own journeys and in their own experiences with spirit, is that as a community, we need to be a lot more humble about what we think we know about spirituality. And every facilitator has gone through this. I think, is it called Oh God, I keep mixing it up with the name of an actress. Is it Diane Kruger effect? Diane Kenning effect? It's some effect. You can look it up online where your level of experience is has a direct correlation with how certain you are about shit even though you don't know shit. And as you actually attain expertise, you realize you really don't know shit to begin with. As a spiritual community, this level of humility is required. It is Dunning-Kruger. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, see the community is coming. That level of humility is required. And it's funny, right? I'm the person who often gets projected on as being the very opposite of it. But humility isn't about a lack of certainty in what is true to your heart and what is true to your boundaries. You can be very strong about those things, but being humble is being receptive to the idea that there are things that you don't know. So even if you have to hold on to something in the here and now, whether it's your beliefs about a situation or what levels you think you have as a facilitator or a seeker, it is very, very important to have that space of going, well, this is what I know and this is what I can see. Because even if you're not at that space, if you have that ability to be able to say, I could be wrong about this, you are far more likely to be guided in the correct direction for yourself, for the people you're working with, rather than not. The ones with the hardest hits on this front are the ones that are most likely to make the most spectacular mistakes. And somebody who is a very hard head has just spoken at this exact sentence. She knows what I'm talking about her. It's my eldest girl, Hanuki. Yes, I'm very well aware of what a spiritual personality is. But yeah, you'll see this a lot, especially with Sagittarius and Aquarius charts, not just the sun sign, but if they've got very strong alignments like a Saturn there, for example. But it's not, end all be all. But that space of humility, that space of, I may not, this is what I can see at this level. This is what my teachings have shown me. This is what I am guided to see at this time. Those caveats, even though they may seem very, very small, even though they may seem very, very tiny, can make a huge difference to people because they always give you that opportunity to say, I can evolve, I can go further, I might even be wrong, but I can correct myself because I'm willing to surrender to grace in those spaces and places where it is needed. But all of that doesn't happen if you're already closed. All of that doesn't happen if you're already fixated on a certain idea about yourself, whether it's a level of attainment, whether it's a title, whether it's a sense of mastery or competence. Always know that there is something beyond. And when you can come to whatever it is you're looking at with that space, you will eventually be shown where you need to go. And for me, you know, one teacher ended up saying that I was having a ridiculously hard head because I didn't agree with what she was saying. It didn't feel right at all. And I was like, no. And she decided that that meant I wasn't humble, which is bullshit. My heart knows what's real and what ain't. Do not let anyone gaslight you, especially people who believe that their knowledge is the end all be all. That causes so much harm in the name of spirituality. It is sick. It is honestly sick how much harm has been caused to people. And I've seen that firsthand. That's why I have such a long booking process. You think I don't know how to make money? Of course I do. All I have to do is take away all those terms and conditions, maybe even increase the price, put a couple of pretty pictures up. Of course I'd be making money. But I would also be compromising on the fact that I valued my client's safety and that I valued the fact that this is a sensitive, nuanced process. So for me, this has been a very important part of my path, having these experiences, learning how exactly I should not be treated, and learning how I don't want to treat the people who come to me. There are, of course, a few jackasses that really need to get the stick rather than the carrot, but those are more of the exceptions rather than the rule. But this was something that I felt I needed to share at this time. not as someone who theorized about this, not as someone who read about this or feels like she has attained a certain knowledge about this, but as someone who has endured this. Spiritual gaslighting is terrible. I'm, I am actually starting to write, which is good, which is proof to me that the work that we managed to do is actually working, because we were being prevented from even being able to do basic writing. So pushing out these recent articles, pushing out these recent things are all step by step parts to progress for me. And for me, proof is in the pudding. I don't tell you things that I haven't tried out. I don't tell you things with any amount of certainty unless I've actually looked at it and gone, this is actually working. So hold on in a certain, it's a weird combination. On the one hand, surrender to spirit, pure spirit, not to a person, pure spirit. But where you find something that's really not in alignment, that's really not true to your heart, your soul, your innermost essence, that's when you basically need to hold on to it and go, hey, you know what? This is as far as you can see. That's fine. That's your path. That's your journey. You keep going on your road. I keep going on mine. That's as much as I can say. And I also had to say this once to a different facilitator who, from the moment she opened her mouth, I already knew, oh God, she's channeling some bullshit. So I stopped the session. I said, you know what? I can't go through this. Here's, you can keep this portion of the funds. This is not reflective of my experience at all. Thank you for your time. And then she kept chasing after me how I had to ground out with black tourmaline, and I was going, oh Jesus Christ. So yes, I have been through all of that crap, all of it. And of course, there will be people who, not liking me, not liking the way that I work, may feel like they were not heard and they were not seen. Sometimes that is true. Sometimes that is true because I don't know everything. But what I do know is I put my 100%, probably more than that, when I actually speak to someone. When I started this job, this vocation, I was supposed to go do something else from what I knew of myself at the time. Yes, I'd finished my PhD. Yes, I was one of those genius Manson teenagers. Yes, I'd already had several years of social work experience before starting my tertiary education. I did all of that stuff. And so I had no idea this was actually going to be my path. And when I started out, I remember some instances and cases where I was wondering, why is this person turning insane? What the hell is going on? And at that time, I really did not know that I was actually facilitating, even just by looking at a chart, because this was a new concept to me. And so I have had my own learning curve, and everyone does. But always have that space of grace. And even in situations where I feel like I could have done better, I think about it, I revisit it, I go back to it, and I keep tweaking to see where I can do better in my work, in my job, in my practice. And for me, as a facilitator, that is probably what has saved me. That sense of, okay, you have this knowledge, but maybe there are things you don't know. When I realized that my astrological work was actually just a front, I don't like calling myself an astrologer, just because astrology is also a very abused method. It is a form of divination which, if the wrong energy is running through the reader, it can actually lock you into life paths that are less than ideal. And that's why I don't really introduce myself in that way. The Sky Priestess is a far better reflection of what I actually do. And that was a name that was actually given to me by my brother, whom I deeply respect and who is probably some cosmic being in his own right. But a guy read Lobsang Rampa when he was like maybe early teens, autobiography of a yogi when he was 9, already knew all to do all kinds of stuff way before I was ever even consciously interested. I could see the psychic world, so for me that was normal, but I wasn't into spirituality, as it were, and there is a difference between the psychic realm, the spiritual realm, and other realms. So once I realized oh God, this is a lot more than just looking at a person's chart and telling you on this dates, on these experiences, these planets, these personality traits, these are the likely outcomes. When I realized this is actually a tool that goes beyond that, and I leaned more so into the psychic abilities that I'd always had from day one, lifetimes of it. It actually changed my relationship with the work that I have been doing. And I see a very, very important question. No, this is not Josh. This is my eldest, Hanuki. Hanuki, wanna say hi to the fam? Hanuki. Wait. No, but that's Hanuki, the naughtiest and the eldest. She's mommy's girl. You are a very blessed soul if she sits in your session. Trust me, very, very blessed, and she doesn't do that often. Josh is sitting in his papa's room because Josh is, uh, let's just put it this way, Josh has certain manly needs and he keeps running to small baby Ariel to try and fulfill those needs. That is why he's sitting in his papa's room right now. You can read between the lines. So, for me, this is something that I felt the need to acknowledge almost as like a point of reflection. And I know a lot of you know a lot of this stuff, but it helps to be reminded because compared to the rest of the world, you know, me, my life, and the people who tend to follow me, we're normally considered weirdos. There are not that many people like us. There's a lot of people who want to find spirituality, but what they're trying to find is actually success. Some people are using the name of spirituality to find power. Some people are using it to find what they feel they lack in life, but that's not what it is actually about. It is about a state of being that is beyond how successful you are, how beautiful you are, how well regarded you are. It goes beyond all of that. And finding people who sit at that frequency is not that common. But as I was saying, when I realized that my actual gifts, you could say, were coming through this particular tool, I made it my job to ensure that I took as much responsibility as I could to make sure that I made the best experience possible for each person. And I would say 99% of the time, that has been something I can say without ego I have done. And that's a pretty high degree because I take so much of time to prepare, to look, to sit, to intuit, to clean afterwards. Because for me, even if you send me a naked picture of you, which I do not want, just putting it out there before anyone gets any ideas, even send me pictures of your cats. That's probably of more interest, but not in a weird way. But even if you sent me a naked picture of you, I would look at them and be like, oh, thumbs up, moving along. But when you send me your chart, when I look at it in a session, I see things that most people would not even know that I'm looking at, and most people would not even want to be seen at that level. So I actually have to really be looking at this in a very, very detailed and respectful way. And you actually have to make sure the person's energy field and your own is legit, is solid, even once the work is done. So it's not even about the chart. I can do it without looking at any of that. But I use it as a means of corroboration. But for some reason, I felt like talking about this today. I don't know why. Uh, my inner instinct just went, show up, say what you need to say, what people need to hear will come out anyway. And I don't know, maybe it's because Sirius is in Virgo, and that is an energy that, especially aspected as it is now, it's an energy for facilitators to be far more careful. It's an energy for people seeking to be far more careful. And the thing is, the more care you take, when I say care, I don't mean coming from a space of fear. I mean coming from a space of understanding. Why are you doing certain things? How are you doing certain things? What is the source of energy that you use in doing certain things, and how do you replenish it? How do you make sure it's safe for yourself and those around you? When you think about all of those steps and you take care of the process, as people who are seeking the spiritual, the path gets better. The path gets better and answers actually come. But the difference between me and a lot of people, and I suspect between you and a lot of people, is the moment someone says caution and take care, they immediately assume that you have to go into fear. That's not the case. Because whether or not you're afraid or not afraid, if something is going to happen to you, it's going to happen. Your fear is optional. So the more care you actually take, the more readiness you have internally to face whatever it is that you need to face. And for me, given that this has in many ways become a large part of my life, this owning and refining my relationship to this work, which has been a deep privilege, a deep honor, but also deeply challenging at times, this is where I have put my words into practice. So that's why I'm talking about this. Uh, Don says, lol, Josh Pantherman. Yes, he is. He is. Totally is. And he does not like me talking to any. Even if a guy messages me in my online game, you can see his face. He doesn't like it. How am I supposed to find a date if Josh basically says no to everybody? But anyway. Chiron says, yes, we love a fridge cat. Is she still there? Yep, she's still there. Anuki, do you want to say hi to Chiron? I know you like Chiron. Anuki, see, her ears are twitching. Want to say hi or not? No, she just wants to be seen. But let me get to the highs. I think I've preached enough. I think I finally feel comfortable enough calling myself a teacher now. In previous years, I never felt comfortable doing it because I felt like I hadn't. Yes, I know. This is my Capricorn Sun, Virgo Moon talking. I know. I know. I felt like I needed to earn it. I think I earned it. I definitely get to call myself a teacher. My standards are very high. But, as a spiritual teacher and as a spiritual facilitator, it just feels like I can honestly say I have done the work, I have seen what is there, and I can handle things that I never knew, never thought I could handle or never needed to be handled. So it's good in that sense. It's really good. And I've learned from so many people. And everyone has tried. Everyone has tried in their own ways, and even the things that didn't work out, it's about learning, and it is about humility, and it is about grace, and it is also about forgiving, and but not forgetting. Let's put it this way. But yeah, it just feels like a day to lay it all out there and see what's happening. So let's go to the comments. I see a lot of you are here. If you have any questions with respect to this, you just let me know. And I know it's a time where a lot of you may need to do your own deep feeling and deep thinking and so on and so forth. And Adar says, second that struggle. Don't like to call myself a teacher with respect to martial arts, so I call myself white belt Sifu now. Sifu is teacher. I know you know this. Calling it in a different language doesn't change this. It just means you're more accurate because of the tradition that you follow. Yeah. But let's see who's on. So, I see, as I said before, Sabina, Neba, Marinette, VB, Dino, Tiraf, Wholesale Drumming, Chiron, Adar, Lady Lane, Angelina, Sharanya, Andre, Layla, Vernie, Dawn, I said Nacha perhaps, but I'll say it again, Nacha, Michi, Jessica, Mecca, so many people. And yes, it's that time. So Adar says, I got the rank. It doesn't make me one. This is why I like Adar. He's got humility. I like it. I like it. So, the fact that I feel I can actually use that label to myself with my level of standards, to me tells me, okay, I'm finishing a certain phase and I can look forward to a different space and phase of spiritual growth and evolution for myself. And hopefully they'll also allow me to offer more to the public and in a safer way. I mean, as I always remind people, it is not about whether you can do something, but it is more often about should you. Should you do this? Should you open this door? Should you facilitate this way? So, a lot of the times, as a spiritual teacher, I end up having to smile, nod, not say it, and just wait for them to figure it out themselves. And yeah, I also have a Saturn in Sagittarius, so you can imagine how tough that lesson was. But, it was an important lesson. Let's see, what do we have here? Vernie says, I needed to hear this. Let the chips fall as they will. Fear is optional. Not sure if this is the terrorist thingy. Things went to shite at work on the 15th and it came from left field. More likely than not. Terrorist is in Virgo. Virgo is not just about facilitation, it's about your daily work. So that makes perfect sense to me. Um, Vernie says, there's a reason I follow you. Yes, I know the gaslighting. So much gaslighting. So much. Tiraf says, always resonates. Thank you. I'm very glad to hear it. So, do you have any questions or comments on what we've talked about today? I'm just kind of flowing and seeing what's going on. By the way, we are, of course, going to be looking forward to a very powerful new moon. There's a couple of things happening. Sun has entered Pisces already, I believe. And we are, let me look at the exact timing of what's going on. We are in the build up to a new moon in Pisces. So it's a good time to really be talking about our relationship with the spiritual, with the metaphysical, and so on and so forth. And I feel that this is just a really good time for us to let go of the terrible effects of the spiritual gaslighting that so much of us have. For me, when my brother and I talk about things, we have our own language at this point because we've survived so many things together. We probably need to copyright this, but I'm sure others have thought of similar things. But there's spiritual gaslighting, spiritual trauma, spiritual PTSD, certain very specific types of experiences a person goes through because whatever is happening is in the more spiritual domain. And, this is a time to actually allow yourself to look at that and to look at all of those things that were uncomfortable. Maybe it was your fault, maybe it wasn't. Who the hell cares? As long as you actually do something to do better, that's what actually counts. Look at what parts of yourself and others need forgiveness at this time. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to let in something negative back into your life. Forgiveness simply means that you need to let go of narcissism. Oh, hang on. Someone wrote the word narcissism there. That's why I said it. But yes, forgiveness. Thanks, Sharanya. It distracted me. It popped up. Yeah, forgiveness also means that you do need to let go of the resentment that you may feel. And very often, that does come from narcissistic abuse. I have to say that spirituality and the way in which it can mean so many things for so many different people, unfortunately, is also a great cover for spiritual narcissist. And the abuse that you get from those types is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I've met so many people who have spent so much of time, energy, emotion, and effort on people who basically use narcissist tactics, but who justify it in the name of spirituality. And it's sad. And in that sense, spirituality has become a kind of a go-to phrase to, let a lot of people get away with a lot of shit. But even those people need to be forgiven. Not necessarily for the wrongdoings that they have done, but they need to be released from your heart and your energy so that you can move on. And that's what really needs to happen right now. Forgiveness for yourself, forgiveness for others, and a real opening of what it is that you truly do feel with spirit. And you know what? For some people, that is going to be sunshine and roses and flowers every day. And for other people, it's going to be sitting in a dark pit in a cave somewhere that is partially underwater and looking at some dragon thing and going, hey, baby, how are you? I haven't seen you in 20,000 years. It's different for everybody. So some people will have to look at the dark first before they get to the light. Some people will look at the beautiful light and go further into delusion and never look again. And some people will find what is truth in a way that is less dramatic. But either way, we all have our journeys. Let's see. Leila says, hi, Sky Priestess. I live in Seattle, okay, and rarely get enough sunlight during the winter, okay. I always feel less energetic in winter, okay. How can I take advantage this season and utilize the new moon energy? Well, given that it's a new moon in Pisces, really just use the energy to feel. Feel really deeply and be honest with yourself with what comes up. That's about it. I keep it simple. Um, yes, it's at times says I have an appointment with you Friday. I'm excited. First one was 2 years ago. I get some of you who have had appointments 8 years ago and you still talk to me about it. And I'm just like, thank you, thank you. But then again, I remember you. Well, I do remember a lot of people, which is unusual. But I'll be like, I spoke to you and about this several years back. Is that issue resolved? And they'll be like, how do you remember? I just remember some cases. Some I don't, some I do. But we'll see what happens. Yes, it's at times says I want to forgive my sister that this year. That's good. Remember, forgiveness is not about accepting crap, bullshit, and abuse back into your life. That is not what forgiveness is about. It is, I think the Dalai Lama said this. He said, resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other guy to die. And that makes a lot of sense to me. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. So forgive, and let it go. Sometimes what you need to let go of is the idea that something is wrong or bad or horrible about you so you can actually see how awesome you are. This is a lesson that is honestly ridiculously hard for me to do because, of all of the gaslighting I've experienced. I was always told that something, by people who really had no idea what they were talking about. They always kept trying to point that finger back at me, and now I can honestly say, nah, that's just your own bull crap. So forgive, let go, move on. Okay, da. Okay. So Adar says, here's my question. How are you feeling health-wise, energy-wise? How can we help? See, this is why this is a very nice fellow. This is a very nice fellow. Health-wise, I am getting better. Physical mobility is still down. Still can't do basic things yet, like going out and shopping and so on. And not that I really shop, but I mean stuff like buying groceries. So I can't really move much yet. Energy-wise, it's going really well. It is actually going really well. I'm starting to level up a lot faster than before. And actually, I think I've exceeded where I was before my health took a serious hit. And so energy-wise, things are going really well. Physical-wise, the body is still integrating. It's still integrating because I really have to respect my body. Yeah, I really do. It's like, yes, it's in a lot of pain every day, but it has gone through shit that there are no words for years. And I'm just like, I am honestly in awe. So physical wise, I'm also taking some supplements, things that I could finally, break through whatever was hurting us. I could finally start taking some things to help myself and to physically start working on the body. So that's slowly happening. I'm able to start to do some stretches again. And you got to understand, I'm someone who used to jump through 7 countries in 10 days. That's how mobile I was. So this what has happened in the past few years is completely different. So, you know, this is one of the reasons why the lessons came so fast. Not, I don't recommend this particular way of learning. But in terms of what you can do to help, honestly, and this is not me being cheeky, what I really need right now is I need 2 things. One, I need my material circumstances to change. This country that I am in is not suitable for us. Energetically, psychically, we stick out like sore thumbs. And as I said, my little family and I are seriously trying to relocate. So we need opportunities. We're actually looking in the Mediterranean area. We're looking at Spain, Portugal, those areas. If you know of any opportunities or people who might want to collaborate and do things there, and it's not just with me, it's with this little team, which includes four baby cats. It's that's something that I would really look forward to because we need to get out of this location. It's not great for us. Obviously, that also involves finances. So, if any one of you who want to become a sponsor, a patron of my work, that would be deeply appreciated. And if you want to support me, you can join the Tier 23 program, or you can start booking more sessions with me or buying sessions for your friends. So that is what would materially help me at this time. You know me, I'm not going to beat around the bush. But so thank you for the question. My body, I need time, because the body now has to be like, okay, we've climbed the mountain top. Now we have to climb back down, and we've got to integrate. So I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful, and I hope that the pain also goes down. So that's what's happening. Um, and yep. Uh-oh. Ray says lots of love, care, and respect. I was in a car crash on Friday where everyone was safe and okay. That's good. Very glad to hear it. Um, Whole Soul says whole body rehab is a rough road of lessons, much empathy and love to you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am hoping I can start by learning Tai Chi. So I'm going to be looking at Tai Chi things and moving very, very really. Jane says, I'm late for live. Good vibes to those present. No issues, Jane. You can always go back to the beginning and catch it. But we're basically just talking about my journey and what Spirit has taught me in these past few years, and, what we really need to be aware of at this time. We've talked a fair bit about spiritual gaslighting, and yeah, it's been a road. It's been a journey. But thank you for that question, Ada. I really appreciate it. Um, Ada says, we'll start looking out and helping any way I can. Thank you. And for the body, if you need Qigong help, you know where to find me. I was kind of already planning it. I'll definitely look you up. Thank you so much. And yeah, it's been a road. It's definitely been a road. Okay, I'll look at some resources too, because one of the things that my brother, at this point, if I look at something, and most of the time I remember it because I've been around a few cycles, to say the least. And so when I looked at TCM, I just took to it like a duck to water. And then I ended up looking, because he was just looking at this and going, there is no way you have not done this before. So, that is actually an avenue of knowledge that I really quite enjoy, and I find it very, very interesting. And I was actually thinking of doing a series on which points in TCM have actually helped me through some of the nastier aspects of psychic warfare. And I know that's something that people don't often associate with this field, but that's something that has totally helped. But yeah, just feels like more breathing space, and that's coming, which is good, which is really good. So I really need to remember to turn off notifications on Instagram, because it goes quick, quick, quick. I recently installed it on my phone, which is why I keep forgetting. Um, but yeah, but yeah. So new changes, and in the deadly dance month of Darius. So if I tell you be careful, it doesn't mean you won't make progress. It means you need to be careful. Care about what you are looking at, and you'll see things happen. That's about it. So let's see if there's anything else. So you got any other questions or anything else that we can talk about or you want to talk about? Let me know. Let me know. Um, otherwise we can wrap it up. But no, it feels better. It feels better. Honestly. Mary says thank you. Oh, nice to see you, Mary. Nice to see you. But yeah, it feels better. So yes. Let me see if Lucky wants to say hello. She did actually fly by just now, but Lucky baby lighting is rare. But she likes to come and help when she knows people are sad, and she just sits there. I know other fur babies do the same thing, but this one is the most overtly compassionate of the group. But the thing is, she doesn't really know how to be a cat. None of them do, honestly. In her case, it's a bit of an explanation, because she was found on my brother's doorstep, almost at this doorstep, 3 flights up upstairs, and we don't even know how she got there. And so she never really had any real maternal input and influence. And so she didn't really know how to deal with being a cat or what being a cat looked like. Then when these two little fellows came along, Ariel and Joshua, because as I said before, we were going to the laundry and it was night time, and I saw these two little shining eyes in the dark, and tiny shine but bright shining eyes, and I just said, stop the car. And we went and rescued them. And and he was bravely trying to cross the road because he's a little man. That's what we call him, a little man. But so Lucky decided to be as much as she could to be a mom to these little fellows, but she didn't know how. So the way cats, kind of hold each other and they lick the head. But when Lucky does it, it looks more like she's the Undertaker, and she's doing WWE, and she kind of body slams them and then licks them vigorously, and then meows and snarls and then licks them again. But she tries, which is the most important thing. And these two little fellows, bless them, if she doesn't lick them, even though it does look like some act of possible violence is happening, they get sad. But that's Lucky. And when I think about her journey and who she is as a soul, if I think about any of these little children, I start crying. It's just like, that's just a total crybaby when it comes to this lot. But anyway. Let's see. Sabine says, thank you. Fear is optional, especially with you and your crew of pirates out there. This is the thing, right? In the game, we see lots and lots of people, and see people who are also venting out their frustrations with life, and some people who really are there because they don't have anything better to do with their life. So they put their time, resources, energy, money, everything. But our team has basically outlasted so many other teams. I quit for a while, and my teammates basically just said, you got to come back. So I did, but now I'm making everybody else do a lot of work. So I can just be there, say hi, and everybody lights up, which is good. But yes, we are very nice, kind, and sweet pirates. So but everyone needs a hobby. Everyone needs a hobby, and right now I can't really do my usual hobbies, which is painting, cooking, dancing, all of that fun stuff. Singing I can still do, which I do. But the moment I start singing, Josh gets very excited and he also starts singing, and then that's a very different sound. My sentiments to Josh, it's springtime and I know how he feels. I think this guy is ready to go all the time. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think it's seasonal. His poor little sister. Um, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Nilufer? I wish I could offer you to come to Turkey to the Aegean, but I don't think you'll feel any better here. Please put a comment any of my videos if you'd ever consider. Thank you. Thank you for the offer. But the last time I went to Turkey, the land told me very, very, very clearly it did not want me about at that time, at the very least, because one of the things that happens when I go to places is that the land wakes up very, very strongly, and sometimes a very major natural event might happen. So one time, I think I've said the story before, but some time back, I was going with a group of people. Never went with the group after that. But I was going with a group of people, and we were in Indonesia, and we were in Bali. And of course, you know my sentiments on this. Lots of indigenous energies, but A, that doesn't mean that they're all right, and B, that doesn't mean that you should be doing and stuff and messing about there. So I went there, and they took us to this very old temple that nobody knew about by this mount, by the volcano there. And I told them, I said, don't take me near the volcano. Don't do it. Just don't do it. I had a very strong premonition. And I've noticed this in several volcano hotspots. That's one of the reasons why if I go to a place of, very unstable or volatile energies, I choose the time. I even remember one instance where I was going between Australia and New Zealand, and literally someone who's watched typhoons and weather patterns for 30 years said the typhoon was headed to New Zealand. But the moment you decided that you were actually going to come, it moved back this way. And at that time, I thought she was kidding, but she wasn't. So wherever I go, major changes of land and major changes of energy happen, which is one of the reasons why, as much as I wanted to go and visit a couple
couple of people who follow me who lived in California, at some point the land was just like, no, 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 out, go, not at this time, go. And I've gotten used to that. And, um, and we've seen these strange weather patterns, seen these strange events consistently to know that I'm not making this shit up. So I told them in Bali, I said, don't take me there. It will blow, don't do it. Shortly thereafter, it blew. And thankfully, no one was injured as far as I know. But, that also happens. Same thing happened in Hawaii when I went to Maui. And that was slightly different because I connect with volcanic energies very, very well. And I saw she was really quite upset about something or whatever. So I sang to her a little bit and I felt that the land felt better. And she did erupt not too long after that, but she made that beautiful image of the goddess on the land. And this has happened whenever I go on my pilgrimages and travels. So when it came to Turkey, and if you remember, this video is still on my list of videos. I was very badly at the airport, and I got very, very strong signs: do not go there. So, long story short, thank you, but yes. Let's see. Nacha says, if you ever wanted to come to New Mexico, I'd do whatever I could to help. I would appreciate that. I really would. New Mexico and me get along really well. I especially like Albuquerque. That might be in part because of Bugs Bunny and how many times he's talked about it. And I finally was so excited when I landed there once. That worked really well. I did a facilitation, though New Mexico did try to kill me. It did try to kill me. But there was at that point it was the time when Saturn was directly on the sun at the winter solstice. I forget which year it was, but I think I was just about to turn 31. But I went to go and visit someone who begged me to visit them in the mountains. And me and the person taking me, we both had a feeling something was up. And I went there, and I went to the small mining town she was in, and something felt very, very wrong. And we were extremely careful on the way back. And that was when, there's an icy road, a bridge that had no lights, and a pitch black trailer came coming through, touched the edge of my friend's wheel. The car spun around, I think, 1.5 times on the ice, and we nearly could have plunged into a 70-foot, drop. But at that moment, my friend, who's a much older lady, she knew to let go, and we both just let go in that moment. And I think that was honestly the time where all of this psychic bullshit started getting real nasty and real negative. And I realized this was actually a very deliberate thing. But I was still able to go and facilitate a workshop at the Temple of the Creative Flame in Arizona. And there was a very powerful change in the land that a lot of people have been doing things, but there was a very powerful change in the land, and people still talk about that workshop. So it works both ways. It works both ways. But that was when I was mobile and able to travel and go to the mall and that kind of thing. So maybe I will travel again. I hope I'll be able to come to Europe and visit my team, but also visit all of you guys. Got lots and lots of people who want to see me, and I think it would be nice for me to look around. It would be nice. John Phillips says, we need you in Denmark. Well, make it happen, make it happen. Nilüfer says, which actually means cleansing, but we need that. But of course, earthquakes are not fun at all. I know. And when you carry a lot of psychic energy, you gotta be very careful with how you deal with it and how you handle it. It's just, yeah, it makes travel a very conscious decision. Um, Nacha says, was it Madrid? No, it was not. Hollow says, oh my, I was just sharing your info with fellow astrologers. You're the only one who's talked about Therius. I actually really tried hard. I messaged a lot of people I thought would listen, especially in 2020, when coronavirus had hit and the world was closing down and everyone was giving into fear. There was only one lady who was interested in talking to me, and she wasn't an astrologer. And one other astrologer as well. There was one person, but he was also a spiritualist, and he listened. But actual, so to speak, traditional astrologers didn't want to hear. And the thing about working with Therius is that you must have a high degree of spiritual belief at this energy and understand what it is without it taking over you and without you giving into the fear. So a lot of people are not going to look at it because they must really look at the fear that they don't want to look at. Being able to work with Therius is a very, it's a it's a learning curve that can be quite dangerous. But for those who are willing to look, they will learn and they will even be able to help prevent a lot of nasty things that can otherwise be prevented. So, at the risk of some people coming and thinking that I'm all about the negativity, well, I'd rather talk about it and help people and let people who are going to project just go on their own way. Michi says, Dr. Bayari, what is a healthy way to create boundaries to prevent being a drain of energy? So, are you asking if you were in the position of the person draining? Is that what you're asking me? Carolina says, we recently got a tuning fork called the Sonic Slide. Oh, interesting. It's amazing for releasing pain and relaxation. My 8-year-old sees me using it and runs over. Send me the link. I'd appreciate it. It's been helping me feel good these past days. Thank you. Red Horse says, you're always welcome here. Thank you so much, but please remind me where you are. I'm sorry, I don't recall. Hollow says, I was in a webinar last night with a well known teacher, and I'm just like, wait, I can explain. What did the teacher say? So, Michi, I'm guessing that you mean what can you do to prevent yourself from being drained? It's a not you as in you personally, but explain to me, are you asking from the perspective of the person who is draining the other or the person being drained? Which one do you mean? From my experiences of you, I know that you are not at all a drain. I can attest that. I know this. I know this. Red horses is Peter and Wales. Oh yes, yes, yes. You and your horses. I like certain parts of the British Isles. Wales has a beautiful energy. Cornwall has an extraordinary energy. I adore it. Scotland is pretty good. Scotland is up there. I used to go and visit a place called Loch Tay, and that was also very interesting. One time I went walking by myself and found myself face to face with Scottish cows. Scottish cows do not look friendly, especially when there are a lot of them and one of you, and no fence. That was an experience. Nietzsche says, from person being drained. Okay, now this is a good question, and we're going to segue into a related topic. Compassion is very often the reason why we get drained. And I'm not saying don't have compassion. I'm saying that you have to put limits on your compassion. Because compassion actually often makes us take a lot of things that we shouldn't need to take. And it's not to say don't be compassionate. Please be compassionate. The world needs more compassion. But learn to put appropriate limits on that compassion. When spiritual teachers who have actually done the work and who are sitting as some energy body out there, hopefully aligned with spirit and not in some personal delusion of the making, but spiritual teachers who have actually done the work are able to say, be unconditional love. They are able to say, turn the other cheek. They are able to say, you can't do anything to me, just be love, because they have attained that level of energy that no matter what you want to do to them, you can't touch the energy. It's basically the story of Kung Fu Panda 3. Please, if you want to understand enlightenment, go watch Kung Fu Panda 3. You don't need a course. If you understand the lessons in that movie, just watch Po Panda. It is enough. Honestly, I'm not even kidding you. There are parts of that movie that really make me cry. But, Kung Fu Panda 3, you will get it. Now, if you're at that level and stage of enlightenment, I find it highly unlikely that you're following me or that you're spending your time watching YouTube to learn things. So, assuming that you're not at that space, please, it is okay to be conditional with your compassion. It is okay to be conditional with your love. It is okay to be conditional in terms of boundaries. Anyone who says you shouldn't be, ask them to go and walk into a street with cars running and tell them. If it's so unconditional and you want to show love to everybody, go and do that. Are you going to do that? No, because you know it's ridiculous. And that's exactly what it is when it comes to dealing with anyone. It's like walking in traffic with so many energy fields hitting you. Are you going to say, it's fine, you can do anything you want? No, you're not. You're going to be like, okay, no, I'm not gonna go for this, I'm gonna wait for a traffic light. So it is totally okay to be like, you know what? And this is a problem for me because I got a shit ton of Pisces in my chart. Okay, so this is something I understand. I understand the problem. I am not denying the problem. But you actually have to be very conditional about your compassion. Because A, you will not survive without being burnt out otherwise. And B, there are certain forms of narcissism and parasitism that have evolved specifically in response to people's ability to keep giving in the name of love. And that's sick, but some people have learned that too. So some of the healthiest ways you can do, healthiest ways of setting boundaries so that you are not drained, is to basically say, you know what, this is as far as I can care about you because I need to replenish myself. Thank you, but you need to go and do your own stuff. You don't, no matter how much energy work or protective practices that you may do with stones or grids or oils or intentions or even other entities, if your compassion is actually saying, no, it's okay, take what you want, that is still going to happen. So pull it back. Sharni says, is it really possible to achieve such a level of unconditional love? What insane stuff they would probably have to go through, I wonder. Well, I've experienced a lot of it. You don't want it. You really don't want that. Go to the actual stories of mystics, like bona fide mystics who have had to meet God through trials of fire and torture, and then you will get an idea. People call it the dark night of the soul, but most dark nights of the soul do not come close to that. And believe me, that state of unconditional love is not something which is, it is work in a certain way. You have to manage such high levels of energy all of the time. Be extremely aware of who you are and what you are doing all of the time. It is a vocation. It is not something to aspire to unless you are willing to go through all of that. So not an easy task. But for most people, please be conditional with your love. Be conditional, draw a line, draw a boundary. You're not respecting me and my time? Out. Go fix yourself, take your time, do what you need to do, but you don't get a drop of my energy unless you do the work. That's how you do it. Are people going to call you a bitch? Of course they will. Are people going to be, more hesitant to approach you? Yes, and that's good. The people that I have around me in my field, whether it's clients, well-wishers, benefactors, whether it's all of those things, the people that tend to be around me are the people who, how do I put it? They respect my boundaries because they know the need for it. But before, when I was still teeter-tottering on the idea of, oh, but I really just want to help, and that's when I found so many people in my space who were spiritual narcissists, who were people who just wanted to take, and take. The people who understand your need to protect yourself are the people that you need to be working with. And people who have issues with you protecting yourself are people you don't need to be working with. It's that simple. You don't need to be the Messiah for everybody. As long as you can remember that, you're okay. And as I said, for those beings, life, as you experience it and know it, is not possible. Normality is not possible. You have to constantly exist at a certain frequency, a certain state that people do call enlightenment, that does not allow you to be where you are right now. And that takes so much of love, and what I said in the very beginning, love and humility. Another point that I want to bring up is a lot of people want to look for enlightenment, and people have been doing that for thousands of years. They want to find enlightenment, they want to seek enlightenment. I get it, but if you're asking for it, you're already fucked. Enlightenment, attainment, whatever you want to call it, if you are looking for it, you've already missed the point. And this is something which so many spiritual traditions, they don't go to this point, that the desire for it is already going to create an obstacle to it. If you idealize it, if you pedestalize it as a mind as something that you want, yeah, you're going to attract things to you that will give you that image. But will it be true spirit? I don't know. Let things be as they need to be. Let them come as they need to come to you on your path at a time that is right for you. So much of the damage that people have experienced in seeking the spiritual is because they're trying to force it, they're trying to push it, they're trying to think it can be bought, they're trying to think that if they have XYZ experience and emotions, it is it is the kind of energy that, how do I put it? If you, hang on, sorry, you popped up again with the book recommendation, and I was reading that and said, but effectively, when you are willing to just be and experience what you want to be, experience who you are, and you can allow spirit the timing to work that is in a way that is aligned with your highest and best interest, things will happen when they need to happen. Personally speaking, in an ideal world, you don't need anybody to facilitate you, to heal you, to show you where you need to go. In an ideal world, it's not necessary. But we are living far from the ideal. Work with what helps you bring yourself to yourself. Work with what actually helps you find clarity. Unfortunately, people are accumulating more and more things in the name of enlightenment. They think that they know something because they've gone to a course, they've got a certificate, they've read this many books on a certain subjects. They think they're getting it because they are taking in so much, and that is not what it is. Children, animals, plants, these are the beings that are closest in many ways to spirit because they are not using this. And if you are still using this to navigate your path, then you're going to have a very strong wake up call. Probably not now. You're probably going to enjoy Pluto and Aquarius a fair bit. But eventually, when Pluto and Pisces starts, all of that shit is going to go tumbling out of the window. The logic of accumulation does not work with spirituality. Whether it's accumulating knowledge, whether it's accumulating wisdom, whether it's accumulating experience, it doesn't work with that. Sometimes it happens despite what you are doing. Sometimes it happens when you're not trying anything at all. It does not require any input from you beyond your desire to be fully present with yourself. Will that make people money? No. Can you actually continue selling that lesson? No. That's why they don't share it. Religions, organized religions, they have some truths to them, but a lot of them are also systems and technologies of control. Are they going to tell you this? Most often not. Allow what needs to happen for you at the time that it is right to happen for you. You don't need a concept about it. It will just be what it is. But, that's what I have found. But do we have any questions and so on with respect to what is being said? Or shall I wrap up for today? Because I'm starting to go, yeah, I think I've given them enough info. And I'm sure people will return to this one. Let's give everyone a minute and we can wrap up if there's nothing else that needs to be said at this time. I think I've covered everything else. Every other question? Nope, it seems like we're all done. So, having said that, I wish you all the best on your journeys, as always. Remember, you don't need to be, in some sense, you need to be the best version of yourself that you can be, yes, but you also need to be exactly who you are at this time. Don't push, don't strive in such a way that contorts you in different directions. Just be present with spirit and try. And remember, there's a difference between spirit with a capital S and spirit with a small s. A lot of people confuse the two. If you're bargaining with entities, even if they call themselves demigods, even angels, if you're making deals and bargaining, you're doing something else. There's a big difference between magic, religion, and spirituality. The three have overlaps, but they are not the same thing. So just be. New moon in Pisces, be, observe, keep an open heart, keep your boundaries up, and see what happens. Having said that, take care, very many blessings, lots of love to everyone. And cha-cha for now.
Bye bye.